periodic review of certified local programs, recommendations, and reports. Look at that. It says periodic review. It's right there in the Coastal Act. You don't need to read any amendments or regs or anything else. Let me read part of it. Paragraph A says the Commission shall, from time to time, but at least once every 5 years after certification, review every certified local coastal program to determine whether such program is being effectively implemented in conformity with the policies of this division. So here's the first place in the Coastal Act that mandates what the Commission's specific authority is for LCP review. It doesn't say we may review LCPs. It says we shall review LCPs. The paragraph then goes on to say, if the Commission determines that a certified local coastal program is not being carried out in conformity with any policy of this division, it shall submit to the affected local government recommendations of corrective actions that should be taken. Such recommendations may include recommended amendments to the affected local government's local coastal program. So here it is in the Coastal Act. It's the answer to the question. Is the definition of ESHA fixed or is it dynamic? This section tells us that the notion of a periodic review of LCPs was an integral part of the Coastal Act from day one. The language tells us that the authors of this section believed there would be changing facts and circumstances that will require continual review of LCPs and LUPs. And I believe an interpretation of dynamic ESHA review falls under this section. Therefore, I believe this section, and only this section, gives the Commission the statutory authority to review ESHA on the ground and by extension to do so at the time of an LCP amendment is submitted. So I understand the staff's reluctance to exercise its authority under this section. There's no enforcement teeth in paragraph B. I understand staff did a periodic review of Monterey County in 2002 and withdrew it at the Commissioner's request until the general plan was complete. However, I believe this section is the only one in the Act or regulations that allows us the authority to use LCP permit amendments to trigger a new ESHA review. On that basis, I believe the Commission has the authority to review ESHA using the current facts on the ground, not the 1984 LUP. Next, since I found the Commission does have authority to review ESHA with today's on-the-ground findings, the question then becomes whether the staff's ESHA findings in this report are correct. That is, for example, is the Monterey pine forest a rare and especially valuable ecosystem deserving to be classified as ESHA? In the 32 years since the Coastal Act was written, conservation biology has gotten smarter in understanding what it takes to protect valuable species. It doesn't help protecting individual plants, trees, and birds if you get rid of the places that they live. This idea that ESHA is more than individual plants and animals but entire ecosystems is a new idea in ESHA definition. It appears now that over time staff will recommend or may recommend applying the notion of ecosystem protection to other LCPs and LUPs. This notion of an ecosystem as ESHA affects almost every rural area on the coast, not just Del Monte Forest or Monterey County. This is not a trivial finding or decision. It's not just about Monterey. It affects the entire coast. If we adopt this finding, everyone has a stake in this new definition, not just the Del Monte Forest. Therefore, I believe the Commission needs to hold public hearings on this new extended definition of ESHA and get input from all stakeholders, the public and the cities and counties that have approved LCPs. So as to the question of whether the Commission can find a forest ecosystem ESHA, in this case Monterey pine forest, I find yes. I believe the Act gives the Commission the ability to integrate new information into our definition of what is ESHA. Finally, the final question for me is the science presented in the record and at this hearing definitive enough for me to agree with the staff's findings about whether the Monterey pine forest ecosystem is actually ESHA? My conclusion on this point, unfortunately, is not complete concurrence with the staff. Because while the staff made cogent and persuasive arguments on the Monterey pine forest ecosystem, the science presented was not sufficient enough for me to be able to agree with that finding, at least as of yet. Let me be clear. I'm simply saying that for me to find the pine forest a rare and especially valuable ecosystem deserving to be classified as ESHA needs more science work. Not that I believe the 84 LUP is operative here. I hope we can quickly refine and develop this notion of ESHA ecosystems and give Monterey County detailed guidance in this area. Finally, I'm in complete agreement with staff's findings on wetlands throughout the forest, in particular the golf course Area 1. I'm also in complete agreement with the staff's findings on the Sawmill Gulch Area 3, pages 118 through 124. Therefore, I find Measure A, the Monterey LCP amendment, is not consistent with the Coastal Act, and since Measure A tells me I can't modify this amendment to put it into compliance, I'm going to support staff's recommended motions.